Curtis. Of the universe, the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duch as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Legends of Grayskull. This is the news desk. Today is December 27th, 2024. I am Matthew Duch, along with Curtis Ackerman. And we got a little bit of news to talk about today. So you're going to listen, and you're going to like it, you're going to comment, and you're going to share, and you're going to subscribe if you haven't already. That's our plan. Curtis, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. I mean, I've looked at the ratings on some of these episodes, and I would say that lie detector test has determined that's a lie. People are not going to like it. They're not going to comment. And they're not going to subscribe. But that's all right. We'll still do it anyway.
That's fine. We're good to go. All right, so we're going to jump in with all the relevant news here. Not too much going on, but definitely a couple big things. Number one, I think we just got to get out of the way since it used to be a Masters of the Universe convention. The official PowerCon just announced within the last 48 hours that it will be joining Toylanta down in Atlanta, Georgia, this March, I think it was the 28th through 30th of 2025. This is after the recent announcements within the last month that PowerCon is returning to Columbus, Ohio for 2025. So we have gone from a Masters of the Universe convention to a toy convention to taking a year off to a corner of Toylanta. Curtis, how do we feel about this announcement?
I mean, I don't talk to Val. Like, I don't have an open conversation with Val. But I know a lot of people that do talk to Val, and I know a lot of people that are kind of involved in this kind of stuff. And I feel like, it went from the basically He-Man only in California to like an actual toy show in Ohio, where it was more than just He-Man, but there was still a lot of He-Man. If you were a He-Man fan, there was a lot there to go see. And it
was very well received. I heard a lot of good press about it.
Yeah, all indications were the first one there did really well.
Right.
Then the second one came around, even larger venue, had special guests. They had a bunch of exclusives, and from everything I heard, it was a fun con to go to. A lot of people really enjoyed it. That being said, it sounds like the costs were a little too high between the venue, the exclusives. A lot of the exclusives didn't sell. The indications are that Val lost money on the second go round. Then turn around in 24, they couldn't get the date that they wanted for the venue. It was like a whole thing. And so they decided to postpone it a year. Then you come and within the last couple months, people are like, is PowerCon happening? Like, we haven't heard anything. All the other shows are getting their stuff out. They're getting their schedules out, and we haven't heard anything. And it's just
and this is so people in November are worried for an August show, right? Because PowerCon is always like end of August,
right?
Middle of August, somewhere around there. So like people are worried about 9 months from now. Like, why are we not hearing anything as vendors?
Correct. Well, and then you've got certain companies like Four Horsemen, where obviously we follow a lot of their stuff, and they're putting out their schedule for the next year, and mysteriously not on there is PowerCon. It's like, okay, well, is it not happening? Like, what's going on? And then we hear this announcement where they're kind of tagging on to Toylanta in March, not in August, but in March.
Right.
Now, the vendors for that location are pretty much already set. Like, this is 3 months away. Like, it's not like they made this announcement and now there's like half the the place to fill up, and now vendors are going to come in because there's a PowerCon attachment to this. Like the venue was already set. The tables are set. The vendors are set. People that were going to make plans to go are probably already set. So it feels like a nothing announcement. Like it feels like this is just a way to keep the PowerCon name out there rather than having 2 years of no PowerCon. You can at least keep the name going. But I don't know. I just, the indications are that it has not been a moneymaker for Val. It has not been something that he's profited off of. In fact, it's not even anything that he's broken even on. Like he's lost.
That's what he's always said. And he said that for all of the Motu PowerCons.
Yeah. It was a labor of love. And at some point, those labors of love, sometimes the labor gets more than the love. And I feel like it's just gotten to that point where it's not worth it anymore. So unless you see somebody either partner up with Val to take on some of the expense and some of the work, or see somebody just take it over completely, I don't know that you'll ever see PowerCon the way that it was. I think that it's just gotten too much for him to do by himself. So, and
I agree with everything you've said. And for me, that's the big head scratcher of this whole thing. And really the only reason I bring it up is it's just kind of the why. And like you already came out and said that you were coming back to Columbus in 25. Those all posts have all been deleted.
Yes.
So they did do, I guess, their due diligence there. But this is obviously a late change. I guess that's my thing. It's like, it's not like this is something they were planning. Like, okay, we know we can't make Columbus a thing. Let's partner with Toylanta. Like, this feels very slapdash. Like you said, the only benefit is to PowerCon being able to say we had a convention this year.
Well, 25. I mean, it does add a little bit more credibility to Toylanta, which for all
like you said, that was already set.
Yeah, I don't think that financially Toylanta benefits from this, but I think in terms of just in terms of vendors and stuff, I don't think they're going to benefit from this. No. But in terms of foot traffic and just overall promotion, there may be some people that are in that area that all of a sudden decide, hey, you know what? It's, let's say it's a 2-3 hour drive. Maybe they weren't going to make it, but now that there's a PowerCon attachment to it, maybe I'll go, and I don't, typically exclusives have to be planned out a long time in advance. So do I think there's going to be PowerCon exclusives? Probably not, but you may get like PowerCon debut figures. The Horsemen have been known to, do their Motu tribute figures that they debut at PowerCon and then, sell them in a wave later on down the road. So, you could get something like that is like all of a sudden, maybe there's a handful of people that weren't going to go to Toylanta that now do because of something along those lines. I don't know. I don't see it as a massive benefit for Toylanta, and I don't see it as a massive benefit for the PowerCon name at all. It's kind of like I said, like a nothing announcement, really.
Yeah, I think
other than for people that were expecting it to be in Columbus and were hoping for an Ohio show, Midwest people especially. I know there's not a lot of stuff that happens Midwest, so
yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think you. And I know nothing. I host a Master Universe podcast. I know nothing, but I think you risk more backlash at this point than anything else. As you've already said, you're returning to Columbus. People are assuming you're going to be in August because you haven't told them anything different, and you're always in August. So now it being down in Atlanta and in March, 3 months away, I don't see, unless you're already in that area. Yes, those people might go, you know what? PowerCon's going to be there. I'll head on over. But for everybody else, it's just like, okay, cool. I thought I was going to PowerCon this year and I'm not. And
the other thing is that Val has been pretty radio silent. Like he's got a lot of friends in this, in this industry. He's got, I know Larry on the Dork Lair show is good friends with Val.
Sure.
He didn't know anything as of the last time I saw a Dork Lair show. Fans of Power, they've had him on quite a few times. Yep. Haven't heard anything on there. Jeremy DeWitt does a lot of the marketing and stuff for PowerCon.
He used to. It didn't.
He
last promo they put out did not feel like a Jeremy DeWitt. Maybe it was, but it didn't. It didn't feel like.
I mean, even on their shows, like whether it's My Wife Is Going to Kill Me or Podcasters Universe, they have not had any news. Right. So it's like he's been super radio silent. Val has, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just, he's not into it as much anymore, or if he is afraid of what, like you said, what kind of backlash he might get if he does do a show. But you would think that there would be something where he would pop onto one of these shows and just be like, hey, here's what happened. Here's what's going on. Here's what the future looks like. But right now we're kind of in the dark. But I think the days of PowerCon as we've seen it in the past are probably done, because he's spent more money than he's made, and you can't continue to do that forever.
No. So. I'm always of the mindset, just let it die then,
Yeah.
But that's just me. Or like you said, hand it off to somebody.
I mean, there's plenty of Masters fans. There's I've got to imagine, and there's a lot of folks that were really excited for it to be in Ohio because they're located in Ohio.
Right.
I got to imagine that there's somebody that would want to take that over and make it a Midwest con still. But it's also, there's certain cachet to that name of PowerCon, and does, maybe Val doesn't want to go through the work of it, but maybe he also doesn't want to necessarily give it up. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's still my baby kind of thing. Right. And so I don't know. I guess we'll see what the future holds. But for right now, 2024, there was nothing. 2025, it's practically nothing. Yeah. We'll see if there's something in 2026.
For sure. And as far as the tribute figures, really the only one we've got hanging out there is the Cosmic Legion's Buzz Off, right?
Yes, right now.
Yeah, right now, yeah. Unless they surprise. That's the other thing. Unless they surprise us with something, it would only be one figure.
Yeah, unless usually they do new, yeah.
Which also kind of leads me to believe that they weren't planning on that being a PowerCon release, because they typically try and do the pair.
Yeah, and that's why they showed it at IshCon this past year, which was in August, which is normally that time slot for PowerCon. So,
yeah, interesting.
But the one thing I wanted to make mention of, because people have mentioned like Legions, Mythic Legion exclusives and stuff. There's only been one PowerCon exclusive from Four Horsemen, and that was the Demistros. Yeah. Everything else were figures that they were already going to do, that they just debuted early and sold at the con. But like Val didn't have to pay for those other ones. All those Motu tributes and stuff, it's not like he had to pay for those ahead of time.
No, they were all sold.
The only one he had to pay for would have been the Demistros. And that year, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, which was one of their best-selling exclusives. It was one of the first.
Oh yeah, I mean, they did a lot of exclusives in 2023.
Yep.
My understanding is the Demistros did very well, but there was a lot of other ones that did not.
Oh yeah, there was a lot sitting on their site for a long time. So.
Yeah, and the problem with those kind of things is that you have to contract out with those companies to make these things, and then you've got to sell a certain amount in order to break even. Right. Much less make money, and it doesn't seem like it got anywhere close. So,
for sure. All right, moving on to some toys that are actually available. Well, toy that is actually available now. We do have, if I can find the right tab, Mondo Shop does have their 1/6 scale Buzz Off up for pre-order right now. Now, Curtis, you were saying that they extended the pre-order on this.
Yeah, the pre-order was supposed to end I think it was 2 weeks ago, and then they said that they were extending it. Now, I don't know what went into the decision to extend it, but I'm not hearing a lot of people saying that they're buying this. Now, it is a great looking figure.
It is awesome.
I love it. I mean, they absolutely killed this thing. The problem is that it's a 12-inch figure, and they're so far into this line with the big names that kind of if you're gonna have a little collection of these Motu, they've got so many of the main characters out at this point that this is kind of a deep cut for folks like myself. Like I've got 12 Mondos sitting on the shelf. They take up a lot of room, and can I, make this my 13th 12-inch Masters Mondo figure? I just don't know. Like I don't think I can. It is excellent looking. I love it. If I was a Buzz-Off fan, if this was like my favorite character, I would have to have it. I think it is. You could easily say this is the definitive Buzz-Off figure.
This is how I would want him to look at a movie.
Yeah. But that being said, can I pull the trigger on 265 on a Buzz-Off? I just don't think so.
And at this time of year, I think these companies need to start avoiding December for these kind of things. Like there's just too much else going on.
Yeah. I feel like the price tag of these has just gotten quite a bit high too. Like, you end up with multiple hands, multiple heads and weapons and all this kind of stuff. I think if they streamline these things and got the price down to more like $199, I think they would be in much better shape than $265.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, the 3 of those heads are going to go into a bin.
Right.
At least one of those probably 2 of the weapons, honestly, even though technically you could put him double wielding. But I would rather put him with the shield if I'm going to put like a shield in the axe. But yeah. And I mean, you've seen like Super 7 doing that right now with their ultimates, where they're target that they're releasing them at, like slim down, no extra, like one set of hands and some weapons and a cheaper price point.
Yeah, this one doesn't have as much extra in it, but there's definitely been some like the Orko I had to pass on. They throw in like 2 Orkos, a Driel, a whole bunch of other accessories and stuff, and make it this same like $265 price when it's like Orko could have easily been like $175 figure.
And I would have jumped on him. I was hoping he would be a cheaper.
Absolutely. So I just feel like they're trying to maintain this 250 plus price range. Yeah. And yeah, it's.
And interestingly enough, just looking up, because I really the only figures of this size that I collect are the Mondo Masters. And even then, I've only got 5 and a Battle Cat. So, but yeah, looking at Hot Toys, like they're running like 280. Like there used to be a bigger gap between Mondo and Hot Toys.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like there should be. Like, I'm not trying to knock Mondos, but I just feel like Hot Toys are like a different level.
So I will say this. I have been collecting a few Hot Toys recently.
Okay.
And I honestly think that the Mondos right now are better than Hot Toys. Okay. A lot of the Hot Toys, they're trying to do these like seamless joints and stuff, and so in order to do that, you get this like tiny exoskeleton inside with like a rubberish suit over it, but then when you articulate it in certain ways, like it bends like that rubber suit kind of thing and it looks odd, whereas on these you're getting fully articulated 12-inch figures that are it's like just a giant 6-inch figure in your hand. Like it's solid plastic. Like there's no, rubber, latex, weird exoskeleton or endoskeleton kind of thing. Like it is just a fully realized 12-inch figure. I do feel like Mondo is doing a better job of making 12-inch figures than Hot Toys right now. That being said, there's still only so much room for this stuff. And
but I guess that's what I'm saying. So with Hot Toys, they do like that endoskeleton. They do a lot more the hand sewn soft goods and everything. Like, whereas again, not trying to diss Mondo, but Mondo is just doing action figures in a large scale.
But I like that. I like that it's a large action figure. Yeah.
I feel like there should be some price difference. I think they're reaching the overpriced point for me personally, at least.
If it wasn't, I think the price point is definitely one issue. The size is a bigger issue, in my opinion. No pun intended. But it's just where do you put this stuff? You know, like I said, I got 12 Mondos. Each one of them are, 12 inches tall. Like how do you continue to, put stuff out that's that big? Yeah, I feel like I'm 2 Mondos away from a complete collection, and that's really Evelyn and Triclops. If I got those 2, I think I'm done. So.
Yeah, he looks badass though. He really does.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he's got the, I thought they were all the more 2000X hands, but he actually does have a set down there of the classic toy hands too, so you can do both looks.
Yep.
He's an awesome figure. He's one I would love to get him. Like if money were not an object, like I would definitely jump on this dude.
He's one of those I have to tell myself now. I'm at a point in my toy collecting where I have to tell myself I can appreciate a figure without having to own a figure. And he's one of those where it's like if I saw it at a toy show or if I saw it in somebody's display, I would just absolutely gawk at it and love it. But I don't think I need to own it in my collection.
Right. Do you think that the announcement of the 2000X 1/12 scale figures has hurt Mondo?
I think
people
it has.
Are like, well, why should I buy this?
It's hurt this line in Mondo, I should say.
Right, that's what I mean. I meant just Masters. Because
for the longest time, people were saying, hey, the Mondos are really the best versions. And I'm part of that crew. Like right. I know there's people that love their classics, and classics are great, but I mean they're a little antiquated at this point. Like if you look at the articulation and some of the looks of classics, they're not as good as the Mondos. And people have said like, hey, if Mondo was doing these designs in a 6-7 inch scale, it'd be game over for me. I'd be all in 100%. And I agree with that. Now, that being said, we've started to see some of the 6-inch like Ghostbusters that they're doing, and they're still putting out 2-packs that are like $100 and some odd. So if that's the case, that price point is still high enough that I don't know that people will be all in on a 6-7 inch scale, but we'll have to see what it ends up being. But the designs are definitely super cool.
Just throwing out there again, I know we've covered this before, but they have said in interviews that the Masters figures will be priced lower than the real Ghostbusters, and they haven't really said why, but I gotta assume it's probably partly due to licensing fees. And I just gotta imagine that they're projecting that they can sell more Masters of the Universe than real Ghostbusters, so they're gonna bake some of that into the
2-packs with a giant, ghost monster thing too, right. that keeps some of the cost down. So
but I guess that's my thing. So like I'm looking at this and going, okay, I can get Buzz off for $265, or potentially I can order He-Man and Skeletor for less than that still in their 1/12 scale.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's probably where a lot of people are. We know an announcement's going to be coming in Q1 of next year, so it's right around the corner. So I could see a lot of people holding back, like, okay, do I really need Buzz off, or do I really need, we know He-Man's coming and whoever he's coming with. Like
the only way I could see myself pulling the trigger on something like this is if I decided to stop collecting every other toy line. And I just said, this is it. This is my everything. I'm going to go back and get the ones that I don't have. I'm going to get Orko, get some of the special release Mondos, maybe some of the Matubi ones. And I'm just going to collect Mondo. And that's the only thing I'm going to collect, because otherwise there's just not enough space or money for this stuff.
That would be a hell of a collection.
It'd be nice. At one point, up until what figure was it? Up until Trapjaw, I think I had every release that had come out from
including
Mondo.
Like the Designer Con.
I had the Designer Con Skeletor Matubi. I had the Matubi Merman. I had the Matubi Man at Arms. Yeah, that Skeletor was the big one. That Skeletor was like $1,200. So
what?
Yeah.
You paid aftermarket, or you?
No, that I ended up paying, I think, $800 for it. I sold it for $1,200 when I got rid of it.
Oh, you sold it for okay. I thought you meant that was their price at the con.
I'm like, no, that like I got it. whatever a year after the con or something. I think I paid $800 and then kept it for like a year, sold it for $1,200.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
yeah.
I would just love, even without the variant, I would love if somebody out there has a display case with all of the, at least all the regular releases. Like I would just love to see that, a picture of that collection all together. Battle Cat, Panther, all of that. Like,
and they've definitely gotten better. Like if you look at,
they're amazing.
Like the first release He-Man and Skeletor compared to like the deluxe ones or even like the Trapjaw and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's night and day. Like their quality control and just overall ability to like stand and articulate has gotten so good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like you can go back to past episodes of the show 100 episodes ago when the first Mondos were released, and Sean and I just ripped them apart. And I mostly stand by that. But yeah, these new figures are amazing. I love them.
Yeah,
I wish I could afford more.
Absolutely gorgeous. Like I'm sitting here, and the more we've got this on the screen,
I know, right?
I'm like, man, it's so good. It is very, very good. I love the tones of the brown, like how it goes in and out from dark and light, the spikes on his shoulders. Like, yeah, this is a really cool figure. So,
yeah, if they're going to keep going in this 1/6 line, they need to find a way to scale this back. You know, stop giving us all the options, give us a weapon or two. Like they've got to lower that price point, or they're just pricing themselves out. Like it's too deep.
Yeah, I think this at $199, I don't know how I don't pull the trigger.
Right.
But $265 keeps me away.
Plus shipping, I believe. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's been a few that I've gotten free shipping on. I don't know if that's the case here, but there's been a few like that.
Maybe it is. And they are getting quicker on the turnaround. So I don't think we ever said it. So the pre-order does end on December 30th at 11:59 a.m. Central Time. And it is expected to ship in May of 2025. So they've definitely gotten better about the turnaround.
I'm interested what the aftermarket is on Mondos right now. Like if you missed, so I'll just do like the Orko Mondo because that's the one that I missed. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you can get it right now, brand new, $275, which is about what it was. So,
right.
I mean, there was a point on these where if you missed it, you could expect to pay almost double.
Sure.
And I think those days are past. So, you know, even if it's something that you absolutely want, I don't know that it's the end of the world. Now, obviously, that's not true for everything. Like the Battle Cat is, you know, that's a big boy to ship. So on top of, you know, any sort of aftermarket markup, you're also going to be paying for shipping for that thing. But for a standard figure, I think you can probably still get it at a pretty good price.
Yeah, I mean, here, Grant, that's a bid, but the Panther's up here with Skeletor starting bid at $400.
Wow.
Yeah, $275, $270 for the Merman, which I think is a bit higher than when he originally came out, but it's pretty much in line with what they're going now. There's a Skeletor here for $200 with free shipping. Grant, he looks used, opened. Not sure if he's got all the parts, but yeah.
Here's the problem that I have with that. Can you pull that picture back up for just a second?
The buzz off?
Yeah.
So I really need to get the second monitor already.
I mean, so $265 for this buzz off, right? And I just looked back on it. A year ago, this isn't like it's 5-6 years ago. Right. This is last year. Beastman $275, $10 more, and it is a huge figure. Like Beastman is freaking massive compared to a normal Mondo. And it was $10 more than this price point. Like that's the problem I have with, like, this feels like it should be $225 max.
Yeah.
Yeah. This being $10 less than Beastman just doesn't sound right.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're that price is just edging up too much. That they need to on these secondary characters. They need to bring it back.
2 years ago, we had Trapjaw, which I feel like is pretty comparable with this.
Mm-hmm.
$235.
Yeah,
$235 for Trapjaw.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. And listen, I understand cost of things have gone up over the past couple of years, but yeah, this just feels a little too big, a little too pricey at this point.
Yeah, and especially with everything else going on, everything else around the corner, it just. But I hope it gets made because it's an incredible figure, and anybody who wants one, I do hope you get one. Like, I want one, I can't justify it right now. So
yeah, I can't wait to see this in somebody's collection.
Yeah.
I just don't happen to know anybody that's getting it. Like the person that I would say there would be a chance of getting that I know that I'd be able to see it would maybe be Stephen Bisciotti, but I don't think he's ordering it. So, yeah, and he's buying like the statues and stuff. What that brand is.
Yeah,
you know,
Iron Studios.
Iron Studio. Yeah. So, yeah.
Maybe
figure,
David Williams, and he'll bring it to Legion's Con. That's
I don't know that he's ordering it. I talked to him. Now he did just recently get a Mondo. He got the Mondo Lion-O, which looks fantastic, by the way. Like,
that's a good one too.
Sculpted fur details and stuff on it. Like, it looks great. I'm not big enough of a Thundercats fan that I need to do that, but
me neither. That's another one where I look at it. It looks gorgeous. I can appreciate it. If anybody ever shows up to, with one, I'll definitely play around with it and enjoy it. But yeah, I don't see a need to own it.
Yeah. Now, if they do Silverhawks in a Mondo scale, I'm done. Like, I'd be so screwed.
Would you snap them in half if they're not metallic?
No. Yeah. Other than that, the only other thing I've seen, with He-Man lately, they do have some stuff at the store. They still got the Turtles and Grayskull stuff. I did see just recently some people have posted the He-Man and Vecna Stranger Things.
Yep, that's
thing.
hidden.
But yeah, that's really about it. There's not a whole lot of new stuff with the toys going on, but
no, that would probably be after the holidays. They'll do their spring catalog, because that's how they like to do it now. They like to drop like everything at once and be like, here's what's coming for the next 6 months.
But I did hear there's a movie coming. I don't know if you heard about that.
We have heard about that for 23 years now. So but I will say this is definitely something we want to talk about, because this is probably the most real it's felt since around 2003, when I was young and dumb and thought that just because they announced something that it would get made.
There's some names associated with it that have a certain level of credibility.
Yes.
That's like, wow, these are actual named people, that like actors that I know, not these like just random, folks that maybe have been in a, some sort of girly flick or whatever. I mean, that being said, I'm kind of with you. Like, until I see a trailer, until there's a release date, I'm not getting too.
Well, we have the release date. It's we'll get into it in a minute.
I mean, a trailer with a release date at the end of it, where it's like, hey, coming, blah blah blah.
Gotcha. But mostly this thing goes through the pattern of, we have this director, we have this writer, this guy's playing He-Man.
We've got a certain script, and then the script gets out, and people are like, that sounds freaking terrible. Like, that's awful.
And then radio silence. And then we have a new director. We have a new script. We have a new He-Man. And then nothing.
Yeah.
We've gotten past He-Man casting. We have other characters cast.
Yes.
I'm still not being incredibly hopeful, but just like, this is an unprecedented area that we're in right now. They have never gotten this far in the production of this movie in the last 2 decades.
Okay, so what I will say is that when we've heard of this stuff in the past, like the last time I remember there being a lot of hype around a movie, we did not have He-Man in stores. Like it had been a drought of He-Man being in stores. Then we got Origins and Masterverse and New Eternia and Turtles of Grayskull and Stranger Things. Like He-Man is in the stores everywhere right now.
Yes.
Like it is a thing. And it's not just a thing because adults are buying it. Like I do feel like from what I've seen that kids are buying these things and kids are learning who He-Man and who the Masters are. That gives me hope because it feels like that lends itself to making a movie because now you're going to draw in a larger audience than just, 40-year-old guys. So that is something, and there's been so much success within like comic book movies and things like that. That are a little bit out there. I think for a long time, like even within comic book movies, the trend was, well, we've got to update this for the big screen. We got to make it look cooler and look more realistic. We got to take the X-Men and we can't put them in like the bright uniforms and stuff. We got to put them in black leather. We got to do this kind of stuff. And now all of a sudden we're seeing like Deadpool and Wolverine, where we're seeing like Wolverine in comic accurate colors and stuff. And people are like, we love this. Like, this is what we want. Like, we want this stuff from our childhood. We want the bright colors. We want the outlandishness. We don't want super serious comic book movies. And I think that if that went towards this and it wasn't let's take the Masters and let's put them on Earth like we did in 87 and make it realistic and stuff. If this is like set in Eternia with the cast of characters that we have, with these like crazy environments, with Snake Mountain and the lava flowing and all this kind of stuff, it could be really freaking cool. It could be really cool. But is that what we'll get? I don't know.
I got to throw out there, I finally, just about a month ago when I was on vacation, I sat down and watched Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts, the latest 2 Transformers movies, which I had avoided. I'd avoided everything. I saw the original trilogy from Michael Bay, and I pretty much avoided everything since then. And I got to say, those were 2 of the best Transformers movies I've ever seen. Like, they... again, what you're saying, they're showing like we can take the source material a bit more faithfully, and people are still gonna like it can be good. Like we don't have to completely Michael Bay everything. Turtles just came out with their new animated movie, which was a big hit with everybody.
Absolutely.
After Bay, made his ogre mutant superhero Turtles. So I think it's definitely, I'm feeling good about the time period that this is lining up in for those reasons. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic because we are getting casting. I'm still not convinced that I'm going to be able to sit down and see this in a theater, but I think there's a better chance than there has been in the last 2 decades.
And I don't know that I need to see it in theaters. Like,
I've got to.
I would be okay if we got a live action series instead of a movie. Like,
that's completely different.
I'm just saying, like, if they did something where they could build out the world a little bit more, I would be okay with that instead of now. If it's an actual movie, then yes, I would rather see it in theaters. But I would actually be more inclined to sit down and watch a series where they can slow roll this thing out and not have to rush it into a 2-hour segment. But yeah,
my hope for the movie is that it is at least successful enough to get us the things that we want. I don't need this movie to even necessarily be good. I would like it to be good, but I don't necessarily need it to be good. And I go back to the first Michael Bay Transformers movie. Was that a good movie? Not really. Was it a good Transformers movie? Not really. Did it get the Transformers fans a ton of stuff that they wanted? Like it reinvigorated their toy lines. They got their studio series versions. They've gotten versions from their 80s animated movie. Like there's this boom that comes along with at least a successful live action film. So to your point, I would be okay with an okay movie if then it made Amazon turn around and go, well, we need to do a series.
Yeah.
And then we get an awesome series, or even, I'm still wishing that they made another season of the CGI cartoon. If this movie comes out and is successful, and then they're like, well, shoot, we need to get the cartoon back on. Well, you know what I mean? So like there could be some stuff that we get.
Yeah, I'm going to say something here that might be controversial for the 2 or 3 people that actually watch this. But I credit everything that we have right now with Motu as far as figures in the stores, the Kevin Smith movies, the whole resurgence of Masters of the Universe. I credit it all to the She-Ra Netflix series. Like when that first was going to hit, and I know there's a lot of folks that were like, this is not my She-Ra, this is not whatever. The success of that show from a standpoint of getting new people to watch, getting old fans to watch, just getting something out of it, like you're saying, that it made us go, okay, well, if they like this even a little bit, maybe they'll like this, and maybe they'll like that, and maybe we'll do this thing with Kevin Smith, and now let's try to put some figures in the store. Like, I feel like it all came from that She-Ra series. Like, if that She-Ra series doesn't happen, I don't know that we have Masters figures in the stores today. So I just, so to your point, like even something that's not great, even something that's not 10 out of 10 can lead to other things that we want.
Yeah.
So
I think that probably plays a part in it. I think it was probably more Super 7 when Mattel had given up on classics, which is right around kind of that same time period. And then Super 7's like, well, we'll license it. And I think at that point, Mattel was basically like, really, you'll pay us to take this dead license? Like, yeah. And then like they saw Super 7 making all of the monies and getting Snake Mountain made and everything else. And they're like, well, wait a minute here. We got tricked. We got hoodwinked.
The thing that happened there is they lost DC to McFarlane. Like, because that was, Mattel was at a point at that stage where they put all their eggs in the DC basket. They were like, okay, we're making all these DC characters. This is where the money's at in the toy aisle. We're throwing our money into that. And then when their contract came up and DC decided to go with McFarlane, Mattel was left holding an empty basket. And they're like, crap, we need to put something on the shelves and we don't have anything. Let's take Masters back.
Correct.
I
think all that.
So there was a lot of that. But if you remember back to the last PowerCon that was in California, there was a big, like, that was the one where they had Kevin Smith there, and they were kind of ramping that stuff up.
That was the second to last one, but yeah.
Was it the second to last one that Kevin Smith was there?
Yeah.
It was the last one. Okay.
No, because that was the one that Steve and Jeremy were at, and I was actually at the last one, and they weren't there. So.
Gotcha.
But yeah, right around.
That was all after, like, it's that whole time period.
Yeah.
And I feel like the She-Ra series put Masters back on the map. Mattel taking it back over and deciding to put it back in the toy aisle helped. The fact that they decided to go with that origin style, which was very reminiscent of the vintage line, in terms of overall look and box art and everything, just hit everybody in the nostalgia, but at the same time gave us these toys that you could pop and swap and you could do all these things with. And then they did the ones with the wrestlers. I forget what that one was called, but where it was like the wrestlers using like the
Masters of the WWE.
Yeah.
universe.
Like, and that seemed like it was pretty popular for a few waves.
Yeah.
It was just like a whole thing, but I think it leads to what you were saying basically, which is that you start with something, and even if that something isn't a 10 out of 10, it can lead to other things that you want to see. And so, that could be this movie. Now, on the flip side, it could also ruin everything because, like, I'm a huge World of Warcraft fan, right? I've played for many years, met my wife there. They did a movie. They did a Warcraft movie, which I really like. I really like that Warcraft movie, but they only hit on two races of World of Warcraft, which is the orcs and the humans. And let's be honest, humans are kind of boring. Like they're just kind of boring. So it's really orcs and the boring people that we see every single day. And even though I think the movie was pretty good, it wasn't good enough to make people outside of that world care about it. And so it's like, if you're only ever going to get one movie, you wanted to at least incorporate some of the things that you care about. And they tried to slow roll it, and then they never got another one to do anything more. So that's one thing that I hope with this is that, you know, if this is the last movie we ever get live action for Masters of the Universe, I want to see Eternia. I want to see the palace. I want to see, you know, some of these characters, the Cyclones and the Robotos of the world and stuff like that. Like, don't give me 87 He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Tila in suburbia, you know, Earth. Like, that's not, don't give me that. Don't give me that.
I also don't want them to do like an MCU origin film. Yeah. Where it's like Adam throughout the whole movie, and then like the last 5 seconds, it's like, and now I'm He-Man. Roll credits. Right. Like I've said it before.
Yeah, it would be better if they just, it's the story's already there. They just kind of
hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And maybe have a flashback or something explaining the basics, but I don't even really need to go into, you know, a ton. Like the first movie doesn't need to be about He-Man or Adam getting the power sword.
Yep.
You know, I would love for them to just jump in. You've got a full cast of heroes, full cast of villains. He-Man's there, and we're just, okay, it's an adventure with a little bit of explanation for the kiddos about who He-Man is, where his powers come from. You know, just like we got back in the 80s with Diamond Ray Disappearance. Yeah. I am He-Man. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me. Let's go fight Skeletor. What else do you need?
There you go.
Real quick note.
Or you could do like the MYP series and say, I am He-Man, and hear about, and then just have explosions and totally interrupt him and never go back to it. You know, never know what he was actually going to say.
If you're going to do the origin, though, it needs to be quick. Like don't dwell the whole movie on that.
Yeah.
I did look up the Warcraft film. It did have a loss, but not, I mean, in movie terms, it only lost about $15 million. Which on a $500 million budget, like that's not crazy bad.
Yeah, no, it didn't like bomb, but it wasn't exciting enough that they decided to do another movie. Yeah. And the problem is that the next movie, I think, would have had a lot of really cool stuff that people would have dug. You know, like there's stuff with the Lich King and like raising this undead army and stuff like that would really play well on screen, but we never got that. And so that's, you know, that's kind of the rub is like, if you're going to make a movie, do you throw everything at it and give your best story in case you never get another one? Or do you try to tease something so that you leave some more out there for whatever would come next? The problem is that you may not get that next thing.
Right. I would rather they just, and I think, you know, that's a problem with the DC universe. They were trying too hard to like sow the seeds for everything, and they weren't focused enough on let's get this movie done.
Right.
So I would rather have less seeds for the future and more just like
make it a cool story, a cool adventure. Out. Yeah.
Make this one a New Hope. And then if we get picked up, then we can do a little Empire and Jedi. You know what I mean? Like you can, but this first one needs to be a self-contained banger story where if we never get another one, we can look at this and go, you know what? That was still an awesome adventure.
If I can die and say that I saw Eternia on the big screen,
right,
I'm good. You know,
I want to see a live action transformation, a real live action. Adam raises it, the power flows down, he transforms, Cringer turns to Battle Cat.
So in your mind, in a live action version, it is Adam and He-Man it's not just like he's always He-Man.
Correct. Okay. I really hope they don't spoil the secret identity too quickly, because I think there are good stories that have come out where the identity's been shared, but there's also a lot of potential for shenanigans with the secret identity. So, you know, it's just one of those. I'd like to, and again, talking about the future, I'd like to have a time where you could reveal that. Like if you go a trilogy with him having the identity, and then, you know, later down the road, you're able to reveal it and kind of the fallout of that. Like, and the revealing the identity has a bigger impact if you've gone through this journey and you actually have been there with them and it's earned, you know,
Right.
instead of just, and now I'm He-Man.
Yeah, I
Like,
can see that.
So, but yeah, I really want them to have a secret identity for a while. Let's go ahead and break down this cast that we've got so far. So, it is supposed to be directed by Travis Knight, who did do the Bumblebee movie. Writing by Chris Butler, who has done Paranorman, Missing Link, and Kubo and the Two Strings. I have seen none of those. So.
Yeah, no clue.
But he has written before.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go in the order that IMDb has it in because that's easiest. So first up, they had, which looks like alphabetical. They got Allison Brie has been cast to play Evil Lynn,
which I think is a great casting.
It's definitely the only thing I think I know her from is Community. So it was a bit of a head scratcher for me at first. Now, apparently, she also done Promising Young Woman, Glow, the Lego movie.
She was amazing in Glow. If you haven't seen that Glow is a great series. I think it's only 2 seasons, but it's really good.
Is that the roller derby one?
No, it's women wrestling.
Oh, women wrestling. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you're on board for Allison there.
Yeah. Little nudity in that series, just for anybody watching with the kids. You might want to be aware. So
fair enough. Yeah, it was one of those I was kind of head scratching at first, just because I only know her from the Community role. But then looking at her, I'm like, you know what? She's got the look, and she's an actress.
Yeah, I think that's a great casting.
Then we got Nicholas Galitzine. He is going to be our He-Man / Prince Adam. God, IMDb loads slow. He's known for Red, White, and Royal Blue, The Idea of You, and Purple Hearts.
Can you share your screen? Just because I don't know what some of these folks look like or whatever. And what is it? Do we have a name for the movie?
Masters of the Universe 2026. Okay. So yeah, I'm just going on StreamYard or IMDb here, but yeah, here is our. Okay. Looks like he's done a lot of kind of, I don't want to say Hallmark movies, but like,
I could see him like in an MYP He-Man kind of, fit, but not just like, not bodybuilder, kind of blown up, muscular. So
yeah, it looks like he's kind of like the romance dramedy type movies. Just looking at these pictures, like I've never heard of this guy before he was announced as He-Man. It's one of those I kind of wish that they would do 2 separate actors if they are going to go the secret identity route. Where like if this guy was playing Prince Adam and then we got a bodybuilder to play He-Man. Gotcha. Like I think that could be a lot of fun. I assume they're going to use CGI and whatnot instead. Yeah, have you ever heard of Nicholas Galitzine?
No, I mean he's got a good jawline, but never seen him in anything.
Yeah, looks like he's played a prince. Looks like a Marine there. Looks like he's got some range. But yeah, I've never heard of any of these movies. Next up, we've got Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms. I have a feeling you've probably heard of this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily done a race change for Man-at-Arms, but Idris Elba is like an amazing freaking actor, and I could see him bringing like a kind of grizzled veteran, warrior kind of role to this.
Sure.
So that it doesn't upset me. It wouldn't have been my first idea, but I could definitely see it.
Well, my idea for Duncan was Terry Crews. So like I'm right with this. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I
Terry
think this is
Crews,
better than
Idris
Terry Crews, in
Elba.
my opinion.
I don't think I ever, like you were saying, the type of actors we've got here, I don't think I ever, like, I would have never let my mind go, we can get Idris for a Masters of the Universe movie.
Yeah.
You know what I
Like
mean?
this feels like a very solid casting compared to some of the stuff we've heard in the past.
Right. Like, just the fact that he's signed up, that's part of what just lends the legitimacy to me. And yeah, I think he's going to be amazing in the role. Like, that
If we ever
voice,
get a movie.
If we ever get a movie. Here's the controversial one. Jared Leto as Skeletor.
I don't think that's controversial at all. I mean, I know he's a weird dude and people get hung up on that. But like, if I was going to cast a Skeletor, he would probably be my first pick. Like, he's very, I don't know. He just has that Skeletor vibe, like his sunken in eye sockets, just the weirdness of him and some of his characters. Yeah, I think this is like a perfect casting. So
maybe. Everyone's stuck on his Joker performance, as I am too. Which,
I mean, he
how
played
much
the
of
role
that
they
was
told him.
writing? How much of
Yeah,
that was him?
They decided to go with that look. They decided to go with that style of Joker. He just played the role. So, it's not like he decided, hey, give me this grill and, stupid paint on my face and all this kind of stuff and all these tattoos. And, he didn't decide all that like that. He just played the role that they gave him. So
I'm trying to think of what else he's actually been in. Let me scroll down here.
he's in a psychological thriller that I've seen a few times. That's like really good.
Oh, Morbius. That was the other thing I was trying to think of he was in recently.
Which is much better than people give it credit for.
I never actually saw it, so
yeah. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's a popcorn flick. Like it's pretty good. So
he was in Blade Runner 2049. Obviously Suicide Squad and all that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not as upset as a lot of people, and it's better than the other rumored name that was going around for a long time.
Once again, I feel like this is a better name attached to this than I would have ever thought that we would have gotten for Skeletor. But so,
well, I know when they were talking, it was like everyone was always saying him or Sacha Baron Cohen, which that one would have been like yuck for me.
Yeah, for same.
Yeah. All right, next up we've got Camila Mendes as Tila. This is another one that I did not know her.
I still don't know her, but I mean,
she played Veronica Lodge on the CW Riverdale series, which I've heard good things about. I've just never actually watched it. Romantic comedy, The New Romantic, Netflix films The Perfect Date and Dangerous Lies, and the critically acclaimed sci-fi comedy Palm Springs.
All right.
She's got a nice look, a powerful look, so yeah, I'm not upset by it at all.
I'm not upset, but I also don't know anything really about her, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not know them at all than be like, oh, really? They put Borat in there? Like, no, thank you. And then I'll butcher your name, buddy. Sorry, Half-Board Julius Bornson. He is playing Goatman. Obviously, best known as the Mountain in HBO's Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm surprised with the few names that we have on the cast that Goatman makes the list, but
I've got to guess it's cannon fodder. Like, this is the evil warrior that's gonna die.
Yeah, I could see that.
No, he's not gonna be much at all. There we go. Then we got Sam C. Wilson as Trapjaw.
Once again, another one I'm not really too familiar with, but
he was in Dodger, Blade Runner 2099, and Chant.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with a character like Trapjaw, it's going to really depend on, makeup, prosthetics,
Yep.
CGI, things like that. So it just depends. But so yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of credits. I don't recognize any of them. And like you said, I mean, he looks like a guy. Trapjaw is going to look like Trapjaw. So, yeah. We'll see.
Yep.
And last up from the announcements, we got Kojo Etta as Triclops, known for The Wrath of Man, The Beekeeper, and A Question of Service.
Yeah, once again, I don't know that my first choice would have been, hey, let's go for a race change on Triclops.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know that his race really matters too much. I think what is going to be more important is what they do with that character. Like, do they go the route where he's kind of an inventor, like tech guy, like the anti-man at arms? Are they going to go with the version where he's like a master swordsman, and some really good sword fighter that kind of ended up being like Blade in the 87 movie?
Right.
So which version of Triclops are we getting, I think, is going to be more important than really who's playing it.
Yeah, again, the costuming, that visor, that's going to take care of a lot of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, he's another one I don't know. I am more excited about all of these announcements. Like I said, just for the fact that we have actual casting besides He-Man. Like, we've never gotten this big of a cast. But then the people that they're throwing out there, we've got Man-Arms, we got Tila, we've got Trapjaw, we got Triclops, we got Evelyn. It really feels like we're getting a down to basics movie.
The Idris Elba, I think, is the one for me that adds a lot of credibility to this.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of these folks that I've either never heard of, or I could see them doing just a whatever movie for a paycheck. Idris Elba feels to me like the kind of guy that before he signs on to do something, he would have to get an idea of what the movie's about, what the script is, what the story is. Like that gives me hope that there's something good here. It may never make it to the big screen,
right?
Because there's a lot of movies that just don't happen. Like, you can get to the casting phase, but you never actually film a single minute.
You can film a whole movie and it gets shelved so that Warner Brothers gets a tax credit. Like,
that's true too. So, but the fact that his name is associated with this tells me that there's an idea for a story that he has agreed to sign on with. So,
and like I said, so we've got, I'm not going to go through everybody. You can see we've got producers, we got a cinematographer, which I know Skelly Vader, we talked about, he was very happy with that cinematographer. We got art direction, set decoration. Like, we've got all of these names attached. Like, we've got a whole wardrobe and costuming department already.
Do we know who the production company is?
I thought it was here. It doesn't say here. No. Production design.
I'm just wondering, like, who's paying for this? Is this something?
Well, it's Amazon, and
Amazon has the rights.
Yeah, I think it's Amazon, and Mattel has their movie studio.
Gotcha.
So we got Escape Artists, Leica Entertainment, Mattel Films, and Fusion Media.
Okay.
And then Amazon's in charge of distributing. So
gotcha. So there's, feels like there's some money there. So.
Yeah, we've got some attachments. So
now, was Amazon also involved in the Barbie Mattel movie?
I don't believe so. I'm I'll stop sharing my screen.
That would be interesting to know, because I mean, it seemed like that did pretty well. I don't know how much money that made, but it seemed like it was pretty popular.
Oh, and June 5th of 2026 is their locked in release date. So
Okay.
they're looking for the summer blockbuster. It could be turned around that quick. Like it doesn't feel crazy. Like, I know sometimes these announcements come out and they're like, it's releasing in 6 months. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not. So I was trying to see who was the production company for Barbie. This website does not load well. Production. And it won't let me see that without a premium subscription. What? You just showed it to me on the other page. IMDb is horrible. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of good things to feel about this Masters movie right now. I'm still not convinced it's actually going to happen, but it definitely feels more real. Canon, Sony, 2016, 2018. Yeah, it's definitely Mattel Films was still involved, obviously.
So I'm just looking at the numbers for the Barbie movie. Looks like it had a total production cost of $145 million, and it made a net profit of $421 million. So revenue $1.4 billion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, being as that's the other comparable like Mattel figure line property that they just recently did a movie of,
right?
I think that's a pretty good sign. So, but it looks like that was Warner Brothers that did that.
Warner Brothers. I couldn't find us who released it, but as Mattel Films, and I went off it already, another production company that's not involved in the Masters movie.
And then it says Mattel earned 5% of the box office revenue, as well as a percentage of the eventual profits as producer of the movie. So,
right.
So yeah, I would imagine something like that's happening here, where they're getting a portion of
for sure
the movie profits. So
yeah, basically they leave it over to these guys to produce and make the film. They leave it to Amazon to distribute it, and then they collect 5% off of it.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to figure there's gonna be a movie toy line. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer since they're already on the shelf. They've got Origins and Masterverse both set up in a capacity where they pretty much just do what they want, and they throw out the sublines like Turtles of Grayskull and everything. Like they've set up these things to just be, we can switch what we're putting in this package on a dime, and we don't have to resell it into these stores like we used to have to.
Yeah,
So I feel like the pieces are in place. I feel like it's progressing along at a reasonable pace. And I'm excited for the fact that we're going to get, if we do get this movie, that it's going to be the basics with like a Goat Man thrown in. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, yeah, sure. As long as we get it. Now, if it was like Goat Man, Icer and Fang Man, and those were our evil warriors, then I would call shenanigans. But like, yeah, you give me Triclops, Trapjaw, Evil Lyn, and then Goat Man. Like, okay. And obviously casting's not done yet. I mean, but
I would say if there's an actual movie in June of 26, I think that I should drive to you and we go watch the movie in the theaters together. Yeah.
We could figure out the halfway point too if you wanted. We could.
Oh, there you go.
Meet in the middle.
Yeah, find a nice theater in between. Yeah, but I think that would be cool because, like, seeing it with my kids or seeing it with my wife would be all right, but seeing it with another Masters fan would be awesome. So
maybe we can triangulate and get Sean and Jesse with us too, and we can.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
yeah.
I would road trip, and like I said, if this comes out in theaters, I'm seeing it in theaters. figures.
Oh yeah,
Like I've
sure.
got to.
Beautiful. Well, I
All
feel
right.
like that's a news segment there.
That absolutely is a news segment. Thank you for Curtis for joining us today. Thanks to all of you who have watched along. Let us know your thoughts down below. What did you like about the casting? What didn't you like? From 0 to 100% chance of this getting made. Why is it at a 0% still? You know.
Yep. Are you buying Buzz off?
Are you buying Buzz off? And if so, can Curtis and I come over and play with him?
Exactly.
And don't forget, we do have our Legends of Grayskull miniseries on the Mike Young Productions 2002 He-Man Masters of the Universe going on right now. It's a lot of fun. We've got cartoon episodes. We recently started dropping our toy look episodes. I know Curtis wants to go over some comics in the future as well. Basically, we're just going to go through, it feels like, about everything related to that 2003 era, which if you're hyped for the Mondo figures, get hyped by looking at our recaps of them all.
Yeah, and if you're interested in He-Man New Adventures, check out Dooch doing that with somebody else, because I'm not watching that shit.
Every episode from beginning to end.
I don't think I can make it, man. I don't think there's enough money to pay me to watch those. I've tried a couple times and it's just rough, man. It's rough.
If you guys are willing to contribute to a fund to see if we can get high enough to pay Curtis, because everybody has a price.
Yeah. I mean, there's some cool characters like in classics that came out of that series, but the series itself is just rough to watch. So
yeah, I've watched it all the way through once, and I don't need to watch it all the way through again. But there are definitely some good episodes in there and some good concepts. Curtis, where else can they find you?
Everywhere. Right now, I've got my own channel that I just created, Art by Ackerman. That's a customizing channel. So if you've ever wanted to customize action figures, specifically Legions figures, it's all about that. Otherwise, you can see me on Off-World on Friday nights, Let's Go Off-World show. And then on the Just Shelve It channel, doing Shooting the Shelf with Jesse on Sundays. So, but the big one right now is just my new channel for customizing.
Very nice. Go make sure to check that out. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, get your popcorn buckets ready.
Oh, come on.